is suitable for general family viewing.
Hello there and welcome to Beyond the Limit with me, Mufa.
Family of Mushais, and with us is our daughter. She's Vivian Wanjiru Mushai, and she has her siblings, two siblings. There is Lina Asha Wanjiko, and also we have Purity Wambui. Vivian Wanjiru is our firstborn. She is now 23 years old. We celebrated her birthday on 28th of August, so she has turned 23. Because immediately after birth, somebody would test for whether she had meningitis, whether she had tetanus. Whereas finally, when we added to the right doctor, they were able to disclose to us that because of the little oxygen that went to the brain, it's what caused the brain damage. And so she told us we expect that she will not be able to perform normally. And maybe because of lack of good words, the doctor who told us to expect a child who cannot perform well. And she used bad language. I can say she used a language that I'll never forget, because she said we expect her to be like a garbage. And it's like when we realized, yes. So it was tough to realize that those were the only words that would express what we expect of our daughter. It was tough to receive the news. Of course, we could not believe. And I want to tell you, Muthoni, I being a firm believer in the word of God, I had already said it cannot happen to my daughter.
You are in.
Has always been there with me. So even when the news were being disclosed, he was still there. It was hard for us, the two of us, to believe it. Actually, we were really in denial, both of us. And it's only that we would encourage each other. I would say business, because you can't tie anyone.
Yeah.
But I would say that I think God has been faithful. At first, I had a house help who was very, very caring. She stayed with us like for 5 years. So she saw even the born of our second born.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what I do, because house helps, we know how it's not easy to get the right one all the time.
Yeah.
But what I do, anytime I'm looking for a house help, I'll always give them the condition of my daughter first. I always tell them that I have this daughter who requires to be fed, she has to be changed, you have to be there for her, and I'll tell them this is what we expect. Are you ready for her? Are you really ready to take care of such a child? So anytime I'm looking for a house help, I do some interviews on the phone, and I tell them the kind of a child I have, and I see whether are they ready to stand with such a child. And one thing I've noted, even when I get a house help, I will not expect them to be experts in the other area, but so long as they're taking care of my daughter well, I'm always grateful, and I'm thankful to God, because once I get a house help, I usually take them through the process. I tell them this is what I expect, this is how we feed Shiro, this is how we change her, this is how we notice that she's not happy, this is how you behave in case you find this. Like, feeding is a real problem.
It is.
Yeah, feeding is a real challenge for Shiro, because she's likely to vomit along the way as you give her food. I think because of the swallowing mechanism and all that. But I let the girl know that she has to be patient with her. So, and she also expects that Shiro will not communicate. She will not tell her when she is wet. She will not tell her when she's
you have
hungry.
to keep on checking.
Yes, so I give them the routine. I tell them this time you do this, after this you do this, and you change her this time. And so in the process, I've been able to keep girls. I can't count on the number of girls I've been having. Like the one I have right now, I've stayed with her for a year. So it gives me a lot of peace even when I go to my other duties. Yes, so I can consider it that it is all by the grace of God.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, is there any, house help that you got and you were like, whoa, this one is just doing the opposite of what we discussed, and you were like, I imagine you just have to go?
Yes, I can.
How many on a scale of 1 to 10?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I think I can consider. There's a house help whom I can rate like 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
3 out of 10, where we found we could not cope. She's unable to give the child food. She's unable to change her. So with that, I think those are some of the experiences I've had. And so you see, I keep her for a week. I think in the worst scenario, I had a house girl who stayed for only a week, and then she left. But I can tell you, I've had girls who have really taken, like the first one I've told you, more than 5 years.
More than 5 years.
Yes, the one that I have currently is 1 year and more. And then I've had others who have taken 2 years. So that has happened. But it all takes a lot of patience. Yes.
Absolutely. Now, on that note, guys, it's time to take a very, very short break. We will be right back with more, to keep it right here.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.
Hey! Kaluma King Herbal Lozenges zinazo nguvu maradufu kutuliza kikohozi, vidonda vya koo na mafua. Kaluma King ni shwari. Tika mama huyo muharifu kaiba kuku zangu, vifaranga wangu na mayai zote pia kabeba. Haya, tika mama huyo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back.
there. By then, she told me, "Hey, Shiro is still crying," and it's for sure she was crying. I could hear her through even the phone that she was crying. So I had to come back immediately, and it's when the house help told me, "We are trying to change Shiro. I'm trying to change Shiro, and she's just even over crying."
Yeah.
So we realized we needed to check, and it's when we saw that her leg was swollen, quite swollen, and we didn't know what it was. You know, the therapist had confirmed, had tried to tell us.
So did you call the
there was
therapist
nothing
back?
Yeah.
And what did she say in particular?
Well, I could not even call the therapist first. The first thing was to take care of Shiro first. So I was able to take her to the hospital immediately, and the doctors recommended annexely, and it was done. It is when we realized that the femur was broken into, completely broken. It was tough, and it's at that time that I called the therapist. And you can be sure that therapist, I never saw her come back. She even never sent any message.
Never answered back any of your calls?
Yes, she received the call, yes, and I told her the condition. But from then, it's like she blocked me. She did not want to associate herself with Shiro's issue. So that was the toughest time I went through such, because Shiro now at that time, she needed to be done some treatment. And according to the doctors, it was tough considering her condition. So they had to consider now doing what they call hip spica, where they would put a plaster right from the hip to the toe. And you see, this girl is a girl who's on diapers.
Yeah.
She needs to be fed. So it was really
Very
tough.
stressful.
Modoni, it was very stressful. She went through it 6 weeks. We took her to the doctor thinking that the plaster would be removed. And they said, no, she was not yet healed. She was not yet cured. And it really took through a process. It's a long story, but finally God is faithful. The leg was able to get back to its normal. But it really was tough for us. So when we look at her, because now it was the left femur, we are careful on how we handle it.
Yeah.
Where it's known that the bones of cerebral palsy children are usually very fragile. They're very fragile, but at the same time, the extent of the therapy it seemed like it was too much for a bone to be totally broken. Yes, but we are happy that 23 years down the line, we have been process. So, and the beauty is we would go with my husband. So it was not all about me. And so it was a good supportive system where we would go, we listen, we are told, we also hear other people's experience. Like I remember of how some people would come with a lot of bitterness. You know, they would go, they would say they would sue the doctors who made it to happen. Like as our case was, it was actually, by the time we're giving birth, the midwife went to sleep. So this would have been, it's not a big deal for a child to be born with a cord, with a cord around the neck. But the fact that the doctor was not there for us, that is, for me, that is why it happened. So in such instances, we have gone to such forums, support groups, and you hear how people are bitter. And then all of a sudden you realize, what will you do? You can't change. With cerebral palsy, it has really no cure. It has no cure because it's brain damage. And so you really don't expect much. So by and by, you know, now time brings healing. When I realized my daughter will not change, when we realized that this is the way she is, we now had to catch up and cope up. But now when it comes to the society, I think I realized, you know, you meet people who look like they're feeling, they have mercy on you. In most instances, we are the ones who show them we are okay. We are okay with our condition.
Absolutely.
Actually, what I discourage much is people speaking behind our back and saying, do you know they have a child who has this condition? So before I hear it from people speaking about it behind our back, I will tell people when I go to churches, I will say, I have this kind of a child. When I'm in class, even my students, they know I have a child.
I also remember the first time we met, it was the first thing that you laid on the table and you were like, yes, I have a daughter who has CP.
Yes, you talk about it. It's a hearing. It's hearing because you are not really looking for sympathy. You're only talking about it so that you hear, and not really hearing, but saying this is where I am. This is who I am. This is what I go through.
Yeah.
So I am a person like any other. Don't talk negatively about it.
Yeah. So when it comes, you know, to other couples, they're like, I've had my first child. My first child has this condition. So they're scared, or they rather hold back to having any more children because they are still with that, you know, major factor that what if the second child comes along with the same condition? So what's your advice to such a couple?
I must say that I feel for couples. Actually, I say to myself, I say what I've gone through, I wouldn't wish it even to my worst enemy. It's not an easy thing. And as you've said, the first thing that comes to any person who gets a child like Shiro is you develop some fears. Even as we took a break, like 5 years, without thinking of another child, because you're imagining what it is. You're imagining if you get you give birth to such a child again. But there's something that I encourage myself with. And this is a message I can tell to all those who have children like Shiro. You do not sign an MOU with God that it is only in your family, that in your family that you can have children who are special or who have disability condition. You'd never sign an MOU. Go back and tell God, I want another baby. If anything, this child needs sisters or brothers. So there is a need to consider, why should you have a child who shall be too lonely? I also say it's also therapeutic when you have another child and you get to know their whole and their where. It's very fulfilling. So I would tell that spouse, that couple that is having a child like Shiro, do it again. Get a child, get another one and another one.
Totally.
They are going to be very supportive to that child that has a condition, and at the same time, even it brings some healing and fulfillment.
Yeah.
When you see that you can also give birth to a child who is normal and performing.
Yeah. So as we get to wind up, you could maybe highlight one of the challenges that is really major for a caregiver when you're taking care of a child, living with disability, and also at the same time give a word of encouragement to those people whom their spouses or their better halves got to leave them or to walk out, and they're like, I cannot deal with this, so let this woman deal with it, or let this man just deal with this child, and they get to walk out.
All right, I'd start with the second part of your question, that we have spouses who have left because of having seen a child being born in their family as a product, as their own product. Remember that, as their product. There's one thing I know, and this is scientifically proved. About 90% of persons with disability are staying with single mothers. They're staying with single parents, and simply because there is somebody who doesn't want to be responsible of having born a child who is special. But I think we need to know there's no one who'd go to the maternity ward to just pick a child who is special. No one. So it's no man's wish. And as we have spoken previously in our programs, I want to say these children can also be a blessing. The moment I noted that I have a daughter like Shiro, and I speak about it, I've been a blessing to many people who are struggling with other small problems. Yeah. Even as couples. So I would always wish to say that don't leave that woman, don't leave that particular mother. I would wish that you be there for them, because it was not their wish, it is not their desire, it is not their making. And so I encourage, specifically encourage men to stick close to their spouses. I am proud of my husband, who has always been there. Bringing these children will require a lot of attention. And so if you are two, you are better by far. Yeah. But when you leave it to the mother alone, they really struggle. Then I would also wish to maybe tell the caregivers who are also dealing with children like Shiro, is that they need to know the routine. Like our daughter Shiro, she doesn't speak. She will not tell you when she is in pain. She will not tell you when she is hungry. She will not tell you when she is wet. So as a caregiver, I would wish that they take care of the routine part of that daughter, of that child, yeah? Like the way God has helped me to tell my own caregiver. You check through, you get to know the medicine also they take. Like now, because of seizures, Shiro is always on Epilim, and the house help is always there to tell me these drugs are over. She also has a coordination of bowel movement. Yeah, you'll find Shiro in most instances she will have constipation. So again, I'm the one who takes responsibility that every evening I have to change her so that I know how she is. And I will always note when she's on constipation, and I'll be able to know how to take her through, because 23 years has not been easy. So I've learned to know her, how she's behaving. Both the caregiver and the parent should really work closely, because the caregiver is able to tell the mother that this is what I saw maybe a son or a daughter go through, and say, therefore take care of this. She was not able to feed well. She was crying during the day. The caregivers are the ones who can really inform a lot, and they can contribute to long life of these children.
Totally.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Sarah. It has been wonderful. I hope that for our viewers back at home, they've got to learn a lot, and this was